In our previous video, we have discussed related to process, we have discussed process states, our complete process management and preemptive, non-preemptive scheduling. In your non-preemptive part, we have covered FCFS, SJF and preemptive part, we have covered our SRJF, priority scheduling, and today we are going to do, in this video, we are going to do round robin CPU scheduling algorithm. We have taken 4 processes, burst time of that is 5386. Okay, so CPU scheduling algorithm round robin, how it actually works, let us explain, because in this case we first need to choose a time quantum. Choosing time quantum in your this present RR algorithm, round robin algorithm, is one kind of art. Like, see here in this set of values of burst time, what we can do, we can take time quantum anything. Like we can take 2, maybe 5, maybe 6, whatever we want, we can take. It does not matter. But where it matters, you please notice. See, in this, if I am taking time quantum as 5, I can take time quantum means actually what? Time quantum means the maximum time CPU can be given to a particular process. And that amount of time should be given to all the processes in circular way. Like if I am taking time quantum as 2, what I have to do? 2 units of time I should give to process P1. So process P1 will be left out with 3 unit of burst time, like it requires 3 more units of CPU time. Then 2 I have taken, time quantum I have taken equals to 2. So how will be the problems? Now 2 unit should be given to P2 also, so 1 unit will be left out. Now for P3 if I give 2, so left out will be 6. For P4 if I give 2 units, so left out will be 4. Okay, again in the next round what will happen? Again time quantum will remain same for a particular process for a particular time. Okay, so again if I give 1 unit will be pending, this will be executed. Now the question is, we had 1 unit of pending time for P2, whereas time quantum is 2. So whether 2 units of time CPU should be attached with P2? No. Time quantum is the maximum time CPU should be given to a particular process. But if process does not require that much amount of time, then process after execution it will release CPU. It won't waste CPU time. Because at that moment of time P2 wants to execute 1 unit of time with CPU. So CPU P2 needs 1 unit of time, but time quantum is 2. But P2 will release CPU after 1 unit of time. This will be left out with 4 because time quantum is 2. This will left out with 2. Now in the fourth time, when first time, second time, third time, this is the first time, second time, and this is the first time, this is second time, this is third time, CPU is given to process in the circular basis. So this is done, so it does not require CPU. This is also done, it does not require CPU. But this is again require CPU. 2 units will be done and 2 units will be pending. This will be done. So for this, no, it is done. So for the next cycle, this does not require, this does not require, this needs CPU, so this will become 0 and this does not require. You see the number of iterations required. How many times CPU should be given? 1, 2, 3, 4 rotation, 5 rotations. See, last videos also I have discussed what is the drawback of taking the CPU away from the process and giving it again back to it. You can see here, if we take time quantums too small, what will happen in this case is, in this case CPU will be, in this case what will happen is CPU will, so many context switching will happen. For 8 unit of job, it will be executed in the first round. P3 will be executed 2 units. So P3 state will be saved. 1 context switch will happen. again P3 state will be loaded, P3 should be executed, again P3 state will be saved and P3 should be executed, and again P3 state will be saved and P3 will be executed. So P3 to execute 8 units of burst time, it is involved in 4 context switching time, whereas here 1, 2, 3 context switching, here 2 context switching. So many context switches are happening. Frequently CPU is jumping from one process to another process if we are taking time quantum value is too small. Okay. Now let us consider another case where we are taking time quantum value too high. If we take time quantum value too high, what is the problem? Let's say we have taken here time quantum equals to 9 or time quantum equals to 10. What we thought is anyhow 10 is the biggest one. Why to waste time in context switching? Let us take time quantum equals to 9 or 10. Let us take it 10 or let us take it 9. So what will happen if we take it 10 or 9? If we take it 10, suppose we have taken it 10. So in first round only it will be completely executed. This also will be completely executed. So this will become 0, this will become 0, this will become 0, this will become 0. But one more important thing you notice, this job P3 requires only 1 unit of CPU time. For that how much it has waited? 10 plus 3 unit of time. Then it has almost become FCFS. It has just become FCFS. Okay. So if you take too high time quantum, what will happen? Smaller process has to wait longer time for the biggest process to execute. But similarly, if the arrangement is not like that, like first one is 1, second one is 3, then it is 4, then it is 10. Then if we take 10 also, no problem. It will be 1 first will be executed, then this will be executed. But you need to consider situation like that. Because you cannot consider a setup process all the time and analyze all the work unit, then every time like you cannot tell, because it is a live process. Any moment one more process can enter with lower one work unit and one more process can enter with higher work unit also. So you cannot real life predict how it is going to happen in future. What are the process, like what about P5 and what about P6? When you are executing continuously, processes are entering to the system. So what you need to do, considering the present set of processes, take an average value for time quantum. Like in this case you can see here average value between 3 this 4, if I take 10 plus 3 13 plus 4 17 18. So 18 divided by 4 is how much? 4 point something. Okay, so in this case around 4 you can take, or you may take less than 4 also, because if this job is before 1, so 1 has to wait for this to execute. So what you can do is some kind of average or less than average you can choose as time quantum. In exams, especially in GATE exam or normal exam also, they will give time quantum value. If they are not giving, take average value of the given set of process or take lesser than that, but don't go for taking the greater value for this. If you take lesser value, it is true that context switching time will increase. So you should not take too less value also, but take average or less than average value. So in this example, if suppose I am taking the time quantum value equal to 3, if I am taking time quantum value equals to 3, I may take here 3, I may take here even 4 also, does not matter much. So let us take 3 and solve it. So if it is 3, we are assuming arrival time for all the processes are 0. So I have not written, I will write it. So in this case what will happen? Time quantum is 3. So first process P1 will get the CPU. Okay. So P1 will be executing how much time? Up to 3. So P1 will start from 0. It will execute up to 3 because time quantum is 3. So what will be the left out portion for P1? It is 2. Then P2 will be starting execution, P1 will be, P2 will be executing. Next 3 work unit, 3 time quantum will be periodically given to all the processes. So you can see here this will become 0, then it will be given to this. So 8 minus 3, 3 will be executed, 5 will be pending. We are writing here the pending amount. So P3 will be executed, 6 plus 3, so it will be 9. Next P4 will be executed, so 9 plus 3, it will be 12. Okay, so what will be the left out portion for P4? Left out portion for P4 will be 3. In the next round, you see P1 is only left with 2 work unit. So what will happen? We will give 2 work unit only for P1. So it will be 14. P1 will release immediately after it executes. Okay, executes will CPU, and it needs only 2 units of CPU time. Next P2 is done. So for P3 again 3 units of CPU time will be given. So 14 plus 3, it will be 17 for P3. Now for P4, 3 units only is left. So P2, 2 units will be pending. This will become 0. So this is 20. Now this is already done. So only pending is P3. So P3 will be executed. How much is left out for P3? It is 2. So 22. Calculate 5 plus 3, 8 plus 8, 16. And plus 6 is 22. Now let us calculate the remaining parameter, completion time and turnaround time. So completion time and turnaround time is when P1 has completed. Here it is 14. 14 is the completion time for P1. For P2, when it is completed, in 6 only it is completed. P3, when it is completed, 22. Similarly, I will tell you, because we have done many, keep writing the same value for turnaround time also. Okay, it will save your time. P4, how much when it is executed? At 20. Okay, so write 20 here, even here also. Okay, give subtraction side. What is the arrival time here? Arrival time is 0. So here I will not write 0. I will give some arrival time, and just I can put it here also. Suppose if I am putting arrival time 0 here, arrival time let's say 1 here, arrival time 3 here, arrival time 4 here. If it was there, I will just give 0, 1, 3 and 4. If in case it was there, I will come to that point once again. Now waiting time. Waiting time for that is what? How long it has waited. For P1, how many times it has executed? Here once and here once. Cross check from here. First time it was there, second time it is done. So 2 times of execution. We have cut 2 times means 2 times execution. Okay. Now you can see here. So what is the waiting time for? For the first time it will be 0 minus 0. For second time it will be how much? 14 minus 3 plus 14 minus 3. Okay, for P1 when it is 12 minus 3. 12 it has started execution. 14 it has finished execution. So we should take when it is started execution, because this is execution time. From this to backwards it is waiting time. We are calculating waiting time now. From here to how long it has not waited. So up to that it has not waited. So this is its waiting time. Okay. So this one is waiting time here. So for P2, how much is the waiting time? P2 waiting time is 3 minus 0 for the first case. Okay, but for the second case, why I gave one arrival time? Because you should be clear, if it is there in this case, for the first case you need to include this time if it is there. If it is not there, you just keep it as usual 0. So for P2, next time it is executed? No, it is not executed. For P3, P3 when it is started for the first time 6. So if there is arrival time 0, so it will be 6 minus 0. If there is some arrival time, so for the first case this arrival time will be taken. Next time onwards for P3, see P3 is done here. After that when P3 started, from 14th P3 is started. So it should be 14 minus how much when P3 got executed at 9 P3 got executed. So it will be 14 minus 9. One more thing, you see P3 has executed one more time here from 20. So 20 should be other parameter, first parameter of third cycle of execution, and it will be 20 minus how much? It will be 20 minus 17. It will be 20 minus 17. You can see here up to 17 it was working. 17 to 20 it has not executed. So 20 minus 17 it is. Okay. Now for the fourth case. For the fourth case, how it is? Fourth case, it is P4. So P4 has started executing here 9. Hopefully you are clear with arrival time, because every time I have calculated with 0 and with some arrival time. Here I didn't do 2 times. Hopefully it is not confusing you. So 9 minus 0 if arrival time is 0. 9 minus 4 if suppose some arrival time was given. Okay. Now 4. Now for the next time of execution of P4. When P4 started 9, it was started first. Second time when it started executing 17. So before that it was waiting for P4. So already this part we have taken care. Now this part is the second waiting time for P4. So it was from where to where? It was from here to 12 to 17. So we should write plus 17 minus 12. When it is started executing, from that point to we should go back up to the point P1 was not executing. Up to here P1 was executing and we have considered this part before. So now we need to consider about this part. In this part, this is execution part and this is waiting part. Okay. So these are the values. So this is 3 minus 1. This is 6 minus 3 plus 14 minus 9 plus 20 minus 17. This is 9 minus 4 plus 17 minus 12. So add those values, calculate those values, add the 4 values and calculate how much is the total waiting time. If they are asking you total waiting time, give that answer, or else if they are asking average waiting time, go for calculating average waiting time. If you like the explanation, please subscribe the channel. Please subscribe Easy Solver. Our next video is comparative studies between all the CPU scheduling algorithm. Thank you.